Okay, this video is on the present day implied equity risk premium adjustment, minus 3.4, roughly minus 3.5%. Here's where we take the regression result of 0.505 times revenue that was based on 15 years of history and say, based on the present day market conditions, we believe, based on the data and so forth, that today's multiple would be 3.5% less, getting us a present day multiple of 0.487 times revenue. Now, how do we get that? Basically what we're doing here is the same thing that Dr. Adj does with his equity risk premium, his implied equity risk premium. And that is right here. If you go to Dr. Adj's online page, on the front, if you go down the left column, you'll find his implied equity risk premium. If you go down here, you'll find that the latest one, he does this every month, is 5.88%. And very briefly, what he's doing here is he's doing what we're doing, that instead of estimating the equity risk premium based on a historical average rate of return, he's solving for the implied rate of return on the market based on today's price and growth rates and so forth, and solving for the internal rate of return, and then backing out the treasury, and he gets his implied equity risk premium. So it's forward-looking as opposed to historical averages. He's written a lot about how that's more accurate, and we adopt that approach. So what we do here is we're saying, and what he's saying there is that when risk increases, the fear index goes up, volatility goes up, the market goes down, and implied rates of return rise, which all makes sense. If you use the historical premium method, when the market goes down because risk premiums have increased, that actually comes out with a lower cost of capital using historical averages. So that obviously makes no sense. And even though it's a small change, it makes no sense, and the implied method is far superior in our judgment and in his. Okay, so how do we do that? We go to the present day adjustment. All right, so what we do is we take his current implied equity risk premium, which was 5.88%, and we make a small adjustment on an interim basis to that, which we'll get to next. Subtract from that the average implied equity risk premium that he has calculated over the last 15 years. That is the equity risk premium over the 15-year period for our sample. So today's equity risk premium is this, the sample period was this, which is a difference of 1.88%. So it's higher by 1.88% today, which, all other things being equal, would say things are worth less today than they were over the 15-year period. However, there's an offset to that, and that is real interest rates typically fall when equity risk premiums rise. So we're offsetting the change in the equity risk premium by the change in the real interest rate to get a net change of 0.71%. Then we're doing cost of capital, so we have to factor out the effect of debt, which gets us a 0.61% change, and that as a percentage of the ratio on the real interest rate in the model here, this rate is minus 3.5%. So that's how we do it. Now, how do we take the interim adjustment? He does his once a month. So, and he writes about this. You can use other methods besides just looking at the solving for the rate of return. Junk bonds yields will rise when the equity risk premium rises, and obviously the market generally falls when the equity risk premium rises. So what we've done is we've looked historically and looked at the relationship. And so we use both the market change and junk bond changes in the interim while we wait for his new number every month. And so there's always going to be a slight change, and we update that once a week. So that goes back up here, and that's why this is 5.86 as opposed to the 5.88. So this is calculated as we said before, and it goes here, and that gives you today's price.